Hello, welcome everybody to our robotics class. This is week 22. So this is our week before the winter break. So our assignment this week, you have a little bit of extra time. And if you have fallen behind at all in the third quarter, so maybe you are missing some of the code, or maybe you forgot to take a quiz, what I would like you to do is over the break, go into GradeLink, look in robotics, and then anything that has a 0 or if it says not graded, go and make sure that you do it. And what I try to do is in the description box, I'll always put the link to the video and kind of like what you need to do. And I'll even put the link to the quiz. So if you can't find my email that I sent that week, like say it was week 19 or something, you can easily find the same information in GradeLink under the description. So make sure you use the break to catch up on anything, and then you have this assignment you can work on. Okay, so we'll be getting to that. So we're still in Unit 4, Navigating the Maze, and we're now in Lesson 3. So we have, at this point, we moved the robot to the letter A last time, I believe, right? And in this lesson, we're going to move the robot to the number 2 in the wall maze. And so we're going to be thinking about what blocks we're going to need to use, and we'll kind of have to plan it out a bit. So of course I will bring up the code for you like I always do, but here's the maze. So we're going to be trying to then get the robot over to the number 2. So we shall see how we can do that. So let's see, what do we want to remember? So we've been using our bumper sensor, right? And we remember that always returns a true or false value, depending on whether or not it's touching one of the walls in the maze. We also have been using, what else have we been using? Our turn left or right. We've been using our drive forward block. So these are kind of the blocks that we've been using over and over and over and over and over. And hopefully you're getting more comfortable using them. And I know it can be tricky with code. Sometimes we have to get used to, what all the blocks do and kind of remember how to put them together. And that's why I always go through it with you and I give you the answer to the code in the video, because I know obviously I'm not with you. And normally we're in the classroom and I can walk around and help you guys, but it's okay. You can always go back to the video. That's why I guess videos are kind of like the optimal way at this point for what we're, with our situation and everything, not being able to go into the technology room. I feel like the videos are helpful because then if say you're like stuck on something, you can always go back and pause the video and just look at the code and be like, oh yeah, I think I messed that up. And then you know the answer pretty much. I give you all the answers to everything, which pretty much means that everybody should get 100, I mean, in robotics, because I give you the answer. So if you're just not watching the video, and you don't even like put any effort in, I mean, that's kind of tragic, because it's like an easy way to just do well in one of the subjects, right, that you guys have. And so I don't know, I hope you guys can just put the effort in. I get it. I know this is a challenging season. It's been challenging for all of us, but we have to keep trying to strive for excellence, right? To try to learn as much as we can, to try to do what's right. And that's how you build yourself up, right? Sorry, I feel like I have to sneeze. Hang on a second. Excuse me. Okay. So here we go. So we're going to be moving along. So we learned about something called the control flow or the program flow of our code, right? And this is pretty much, if you're just looking at your code and you're trying to read it line by line and you're trying to figure out what it all means. So they kind of put it here with some arrows to try to get you guys to understand. So it says, when started, drive forward, wait until your left bumper is pressed. So if it's not pressed, it's false. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to go anywhere. When it is pressed, then it's going to turn left 90 degrees, drive forward, and then guess what? Same thing again. If the left bumper is pressed, it'll turn left 90 degrees, drive forward. If it's not going to go anywhere, right? So it's just kind of showing you the flow of the code. So we're going to be, so for drive to the number 2, we have to think about how we would do this. So the VR, it's going to have the VR robot turning left to drive to the letter A. And then in order to navigate to the number 2, the VR robot's going to have to turn right, and then drive forward and then turn left. So we're going to have to add a bunch of code in there. So this is kind of what the code will look like. We'll have to drive forward, wait until the left bumper's pressed, and then turn left, and then drive forward, wait until the left bumper's pressed, turn right, and then drive forward. Because we're adding in our step here. We're going this way, and then we're going up here, and then we're going left, and then we're going left, right? So we have to think about how we can get to the number 2. So we're going to actually move along to the next part of this. And what we're going to do is use the drivetrain commands to navigate the wall maze. So we've got the robot to the letter A, to the number 2. And so it says, how would you create a project where the VR robot drives to other locations, such as the letter B? So we're going to try to get to the letter B. So the letter B is over here. So now that's interesting, because if we're starting here and we have to get all the way to over here, it's just pretty much you're using the same code. If you notice, you're always using the drive forward, the wait until left bumper's pressed, and then you're just deciding, will it turn right or left when it hits the wall? And how do you determine that? You just look, like, say your robot was here and it went forward and it hit the wall. You're like, well, I know it needs to turn left because I see the opening, right? And then if your robot turned left and went straight and then hit the wall and then turned left and was at the number 2, then you would get it to the number 2. So you're like, okay, it went left, it hit the wall again, and then it went left again, right? So you're kind of just looking and you're like, oh, where is it hitting the wall? And then which direction do I need to turn? So if the code only contained the drive and turn 4 blocks, the VR robot would be stuck in one of the sections, right? Because it wouldn't continue. So we have to edit the code by removing the stop block and replacing it with the drive 4 and turn 4 blocks. And we have to set the parameters in the drive 4 block to reverse for 300 millimeters, and set the parameters of the turn 4 block to turn left 90 degrees to be able to get out of here, right? So it starts to get a little bit tricky, but we're pretty much just backing out of the maze. So that way, then we can get back over here, and then he can continue going forward, turning, and then forward to the B, right? So it takes a little bit of thinking, and the code, as you can see, it can be a little bit long for this, but that's okay. We're going to get through it. So our challenge that they want you to do is get to the number 3. So the number 3 is all the way over here. So let's watch. I'm going to put the little video. So this is what it wants you to do. This is what we're going to be doing. It's going to go up here, go through the maze, go through the maze. Uh-oh, stuck in there. That way, that way, that way. Up here, here, and then to the number 3. So if you notice, the only spot in the code where the robot needs to then reverse is right over here, right above the number 2. Because remember, the robot knows how to turn when it hits a wall. But if it hits a wall and then, like, for example, say it hits this wall here by the number 2, we're trying to get to the number 3. So we need the robot to then reverse out and then go this way, right? So it's kind of like an extra step that we're thinking about. So we're going to try and think about how we can create a project to get the robot to the number 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into VEX Code. I'm going to go and I'm going to name it my name. Remember, always put your name. This is unit number 4, lesson number 3. And this is get to 3, pretty much, because we're trying to get to 3. So I can rename it. And then I'm going to pull up the code for you guys so that way I can go through it with you. Okay, so I went ahead and I put in all of the code to get to the number 3 in the maze. So I'm just going to kind of just guide you guys through a visual, and then I'll talk about the code. So we're starting down here. I know it might be a little bit hard for you to see, but it's right down here's the robot. And we see our robot driving forward, turning left, driving forward, turning right, driving forward, turning left, driving forward, hitting the wall, reversing, and then turning right, driving forward, turning left, driving forward, turning right, driving forward, turning left, driving forward, turning right. I know it's a lot. Driving forward, turning right, driving forward, turning right. So we have a lot of steps in here. And don't let it make you feel, I don't know, intimidated. I get it. But like you just take it one block at a time, one step at a time, which is what I did. So what I did is I went through everything and I put in the code. So our first block was the drive forward. Then we had a wait until left bumper's pressed, and our first turn was the turn left. Okay. So that's what you put in. Then I had a drive forward, a wait until our left bumper's pressed, and then a turn right, because that was the next turn in our maze. Then I had a drive forward, a wait until left bumper's pressed, and then I had a turn left block because we had to go left again. Then I had a drive forward, wait until your left bumper's pressed, remember your center. Then we hit the wall, remember? So we had to drive in reverse, 300 millimeters, and turn the robot right, and then drive forward. Then our next step was when we hit the next wall, so wait until the left bumper's pressed, turn left 90 degrees and drive forward. Then wait until the left bumper is pressed, turn right 90 degrees, that was our next one, drive forward. Then wait until the left bumper is pressed, turn left 90 degrees and drive forward. Wait until our left bumper is pressed, turn right, we're getting to our last couple turns, drive forward, wait until our left bumper is pressed, turn right, drive forward, wait until our left bumper is pressed, turn right, and drive forward. So this is all of the code to get through the maze. And some of you guys who are like more advanced with code, you might be able to add in some repeat blocks here, because remember, it looks like we are repeating a lot of the code here. Like for example, this last chunk could probably just be a repeat 3 times. Wait until left bumper's pressed, turn right, drive forward. So if you want to take it a step further, I just put in the line by line code because I want you guys to get comfortable reading the code and being able to just take it one step at a time and figure it out, right? Since we're going pretty far in the maze this time. So I will just slowly show you the code again. I'll move it slowly. So then that way what you can do is if you need to stop the video and pause it and kind of take a look at the code that I had in there, if you're getting a little bit confused, you might even want to just take a pencil and a piece of paper and just kind of map it out. So be like, drive forward. Okay, I have one turn left. Then my next is a turn right. My next is a turn left. And then I have 2 turn rights, and just kind of map it out. That could help you too, especially when you're dealing with a lot of code. It might make it easier because then, sometimes we forget like one of the turn rights or we forget a turn left, and then we're like, oh, why isn't this thing working? And we get so frustrated, right? So if you try maybe mapping it out on paper, how many turns you need and what direction each of the turns are, then the rest of the code is pretty straightforward. We have our wait until block, our turn block, and our drive forward. The only part that's a little bit different is that one part in the step where we have to reverse the robot. But otherwise, the rest of it is just repeating the same code, right? So this is probably our most challenging, I would say, so far. But if I run this, I'll run it so you guys could see. The robot is going to get to the number 3. So there it goes. Drive forward, turn left, drive forward, turn right, drive forward, turn left, drive forward. Now it's reversing, turning right, drive forward, turn left, drive forward, turn right, drive forward, turn left, drive forward, turn right, drive forward, turn right, drive forward, turn right. And then there it is at the number 3. So I know that sounds like a tongue twister, but I know you guys can do this. You guys are smart. If you keep it organized, you take it one step at a time, you will be able to recreate the code to get your robot to the number 3. If I did it, you can do it. Okay, guys. So that's going to be your homework this week. You're going to have to send me the code to get your robot to the number 3. So again, the code is right here. I showed it to you guys. I went through it with you multiple times. So what I would do if I were you is write it down, map it out. So then that way you can follow along and make sure you got all the correct turns and everything. And then there's a short quiz that goes along with this. So I'll go through the questions with you. It says, what will the VR robot do when the bumper sensor is pressed in this project? So we have when start, drive forward, wait until the left bumper is pressed, and then it's going to drive in reverse 200 millimeters. So we know that the answer is drive in reverse for 200 millimeters, right? It's kind of like just read line by line, and then you'll know what the code says. True or false? This block can be used as a condition. Distance in millimeters. So that would be false because it's not really, I mean, we already know the distance in millimeters. It's not really getting us. What condition are you talking about? How many millimeters? Like, what is it? Which of the following is a reason to use a condition in VexCode VR? So a reason to use a condition. To control the flow of a project when using blocks from the control category by allowing the project to be able to know what it's supposed to do. So yes, that's actually the answer A. So we use it like we use the wait until block, right? And then because we're trying to tell the project, like wait until you're touching the wall and then turn, right? So we're using it to help control the flow of the project. What feature highlight blocks as they progress through the project execution? So the answer is the step feature. So it's just going through steps, right? It's just showing you the steps. And they highlight through as you're seeing the project being executed. And then the last one is, why is it helpful to use the step feature in a project? And it's because it allows the user to trace the flow of a project in order to find and fix problems. It's C. Because when you see it being highlighted each step, then you're like, oh man, it was the 4th step. As soon as it hit the 4th step, it didn't do what I wanted it to do. And then you know to go back to that part. Could you imagine if you had like 700 steps? I mean, you would have no idea where the problem was. You'd be driving yourself crazy, right? So it's nice that it highlights each step. And then as it's highlighting and you're watching it do what it's supposed to do, you can easily identify where your problem is in the code. And then you can stop the program, go back to the code, fix the problem, and then rerun it again, test your code again, right? So that's basically what you're doing. So short quiz this week. Please make sure you take that, and please make sure you send me the code to get to the number 3. Okay, guys, if you're stuck on anything, my best advice would be use the video, pause it, go back to any parts that you're stuck on. Of course, you can always email me. And like I said at the beginning of class, if you are behind on anything, go back and catch up. It's nice to use the break, right? So that way when you come back from break, you're kind of starting fresh. You're like, I have all my assignments done. I am good. And now I'm starting a fresh week, and you'll feel really good about yourself. And honestly, these don't even really take that long. So there's no reason why anybody should just be like, oh, I'm not doing this, I don't have time or whatever. It's like you could make time. Okay, you definitely can. It's sad if you just accept a 0 because there's no reason why you should be getting a 0 in this class. Okay, guys, so I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.